Welcome to Talking About Sports, the Carolina's #1 podcast. We're #1 because you make us #1. We're here at the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill with our co-host, Mountaineer Mike Freer and William Wilson. And guys, it's race week. We got William Wilson's jacket here, custom made for the winner of the Roval 400. We'll get to that in our NASCAR segment, but breaking news today, the Carolina Panthers have signed former Pro Bowl safety Eric Reid. This is a good football player, but he's been unsigned because he somewhat controversial in some quarters because he took a knee. He supported Colin Kaepernick in his protest throughout the country. And Will, I want to go to you first on this. I think this is big news. David Tepper, I think, is a football guy. He wants to make football decisions regardless of anything. But this is a bombshell in a lot of places right now.
This is the most significant sports signing this is probably the most significant sports signing in 5 to 10 years, because it has more to do off the field, on the field. This is the biggest news story since Nike with Kaepernick, because David Tepper said, I'm taking a position. This is what I'm going to do what's best for my football team. I don't care about the rest of this stuff. Like me and Freer saying off air, as an owner, he's actually being sued by Ed Reid as part of that grievance. And he still said, you know what? I know your position on this. I'm okay with this. Come play football.
You don't think Roger Goodell said, hey, Tepper, you're a new guy. Sign this guy so we can take the heat off the collusion lawsuit?
Roger Goodell works for Tepper, not the other way around.
Just saying.
So Roger Goodell can suggest. David Tepper is in a position to make the orders because he's part of ownership. And Tepper's got 2.4 billion reasons to not listen to Roger Goodell. So, or he had it, he gave it to Jerry Richardson. So here's what this comes down to. He said, I'm gonna take a stand. This is how I'm gonna run my team. I don't care what Jerry Jones thinks about it. I don't care what Bob Kraft thinks about it. I don't care what the Moonies or anybody else, or Roonies, or anybody else thinks about this. This is how I'm gonna run my team. This is what I'm gonna do. And he said, Panther fans, if you don't like it, stay home. I'll replace you with more seats in the stands. So anybody said you sign with these guys, I'm not gonna go. He said, you know what? You're going to stay home? Stay home. Now, I got your ticket money anyway.
Mountaineer Mike, before we get to Reggie, who's in the bunker breaking down the win here, I think that David Tepper has more than just $2 billion that he gave to Jerry Richardson. He's probably got another 10 stashed somewhere. Your quick thoughts on the Eric Reid signing?
Well, from a football standpoint, it's a good signing. It's a great signing.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about before the season, we were concerned about the secondary of the Panthers because not just because we didn't know what to expect from the young guys, but they're going up against. We listed all the quarterbacks they're going to go up against. They're going to go up against the Eli Mannings in 2 weeks. They're going to go up against Alex Smith, Carson Wentz. They're going to go up against Breeze. They're going to go up against Matt Ryan again. They need as much help as they can get from a football standpoint. This is a great signing. This is also a big deal if you're a Panthers fan, because this is David Tepper listening to the veterans of the team, because Torrey Smith a couple days ago came out and said they needed a player like Eric Reid, who was his teammate with the 49ers. And I think he listened. Marty Herney listened. They made a football decision. I think it's, from a football standpoint, period, it's a great call. Nobody's ever disputed that.
All right, and let's look back. Carolina, impressive victory over Cincinnati. Reggie is in the bunker. He's going to break down that one and look ahead through the bye week to the New York Giants.
What's up, fellas? I'm going to be hanging out in the bunker. I've been studying tape. I want to talk to you about these Carolina Panthers. They moved to 2-1, get a big-time win over the Cincinnati Bengals, and they did it in so many different ways. Cam Newton, again, fairly efficient in the passing game, only 150 yards and 2 touchdowns, but that's about 10 yards per completion, 15 of 24. We'll take that as long as this football team is winning. On the flip side, Christian McCaffrey, what a game for this kid. 28 carries, 184 yards, that's 6 yards a clip. And the thing that I liked about it the most is he ran inside, he ran outside, he ran off tackle, he ran sweeps. Everything that you can think of, Christian McCaffrey was effective at doing it. And then he only caught 2 passes, which I think was important for this football team as well. But the main key to that, to me, is this offensive line. Say what you want about the offensive line. They've been maligned. They've been expected to play poorly because there's so many backups in. They basically played this game with one guy that was expected to be a starter at the beginning of this season in the lineup. And this football team does what? They run for over 200 yards against a Cincinnati Bengals defense that's actually pretty good in general. But The fact that when you have a makeshift offensive line, if you can run the football, that helps the football team gel and allows them to get even better and perform better even in the passing game. On the flip side, defensively, I thought it was an excellent performance by the Carolina Panthers. The secondary, great job. Yeah, they gave up some yards. They gave up over 350 yards passing to Andy Dalton. A lot of that in garbage time, a lot of that trying to get back in the game as the game got later and later. The other piece of that, 4 interceptions. The rookie, Jackson, he's got 3 now on the season. This secondary, which most people thought may have been a weakness of this football team going in, performed fairly well, I think, when you go back and watch the tape in terms of what they gave the Cincinnati Bengals. I know A.J. Green left that game early on with an injury. That has nothing to do with it. Boyd had a big game. He did. He had a big game, caught a lot of passes, got a lot of yards. But again, we mentioned, look at time and situation of those yards. So right now, the best thing I think that could happen actually for this Panthers football team is the bye week that they're sitting in right now for 2 reasons. It gives them another week to get some people healthy, particularly in the offensive line that they haven't had this year, early, so that when they get back, they can keep rolling going towards the playoffs. The second reason why this is a good bye week, Christian McCaffrey's probably tired, probably needs a little bit of extra rest, spent a whole lot of time running the football in a very physical game against the Cincinnati Bengals. But at the end of the day, if you're the Carolina Panthers, you like the fact that you come to your bye week at 2-1 and really in a situation where you probably could have been 3-0 because you were in a spot to where you could have beat the Atlanta Falcons, ended up losing that football game because Matt Ryan was able to use his feet to get in the end zone a couple of times. But at the end of the day, the Carolina Panthers sit at 2-1, going into their bye week with a chance to get everybody healthy.
All right, good segment there from Reggie, and Reggie did a very good job of breaking down. I don't know if I agree with him on McCaffrey needing some time off because he's been utilized so much, but the offensive line did a very good job against, I thought, a very good defensive line. Carlos Dunlap and the Bengals did an excellent job. So just a quick take on the O-line before we go to break here and then the victory over the Bengals.
I think if you're looking for one surprise this season, pleasant surprise for the Panthers, it's been the play of the offensive line. We thought this was going to be a detriment because of all the injuries. And so far, had 41 carries. They were able to run the ball 41 times against Cincinnati, which, I mean, it's unbelievable. Christian McCaffrey, probably that not only was that his career high coming in, he may never see 28 carries again in the game the rest of his career. And so I think this really has to dispel the notion that he's too small to carry the ball, to carry the load. You know, he is the same build as Curtis Martin, the Hall of Fame running back. He's 5'11", 205. Curtis Martin was 5'11", 210. Nobody ever questioned Curtis Martin's ability to take on a heavy workload.
Now, William Wilson, you give high marks to Cam Newton. You're his harshest critic in Charlotte.
Oh, I'm not even close to his harshest. I'm not his sharpest critic in this building. Oh. I mean, he made some good throws. He played pretty decent. The O-line gave him some time. They gave him a lot of time, but they gave him some. That's why I think he ran the ball so much. Now, I don't know if this necessarily dispels, Christian ran the ball those 28 times. I don't know if this necessarily dispels of him being that type of player, because anybody can do anything one time.
You're still not going to give him a break.
But you can't. You do that 4 times. Christian McCaffrey's on IR by the end of the season.
You're crediting Norvell Turner. That's what you're doing, Will.
Huh? No.
You're crediting Norvell Turner. It's all Norvell's making Cam good.
But that's why you brought him in here.
It's true. That's
why you brought Norvell in here. If Cam was going to do it on his own, then you wouldn't need to bring Norvell in the first place.
By the way,
all the incompetent people he had being paid before him to do it could have did it for him.
Cam Newton, 1 interception in 3 games is pretty darn good. He's not making the mistakes.
Yeah.
And his sack percentage, he's not taking the sacks as much. Only sack percentage about just under 6%. That means the number of times he gets sacked when he drops back. That'd be a career low. He's on pace for a career. So he's getting rid of the ball. He's doing a good job. He's not passing for a lot of yards, but when you run the ball like this, we saw that. The Panthers are a running team.
Well, guys, you mentioned the sacks, and we'll get to that in our next segment. We're getting ready to take a break, and we're going to come back, and we're talking about a guy that came out of nowhere. He speaks with a British accent. He's the NFC Defensive Player of the Week, plus this ridiculous sack situation going on in the NFL. We're here at the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill. This is Talking About Sports.
At Heslop Wealth Advisors, our goal is to help small businesses develop quality retirement plans for their employees through our Lunch and Learn seminars. We provide lunch and learning tools to help your company succeed and unmatched customer service.
All right, welcome back to Talking About Sports. We're here with Mountaineer Mike Freer, William Wilson. We're here at the Deal with Neighborhood Grill. Come on down anytime for some of the best food in Charlotte. Now, guys, Carolina got a great effort from F.A. Ubada. And some people have never heard of this guy. He came through the NFL's International Development Program, and he's the NFC Defensive Player of the Week, an interception, a sack, caused a fumble, recovered one, had something called back, but a great effort on this Carolina defensive line. They were in all afternoon. Now they did, as Reggie pointed out in their last segment, they did give up a lot of passing yards. And Mountaineer Mike, you got to love F.A. Ubada in his effort leading that defensive line.
Absolutely. You put the pressure on. The defensive line came under some criticism after the Atlanta game because this team that we thought was so deep at that line certainly didn't play like it in that game, in that loss, as Matt Ryan carved them up, and they really didn't put any pressure on them. And they certainly changed that up against Cincinnati. They only had a couple of sacks, I believe. I don't think they really, as far as actually knocking them down, but to putting the pressure on, forcing 4 interceptions by the secondary was huge. And adding, if he can continue to be a productive player like that, it's just going to, not only is it going to make obviously the Panthers better, but it's going to push some of these guys who think they're just going to get some playing time because they're so deep. At some point, you're going to have a rotation, and if you're not going to be a part of it, guys like this are going to just take your time.
What do you think? Do you ever heard of this guy before now? Will?
I never heard of him, but when the lights come on, the big guys shine. Sometimes you need an opportunity. He's basically Andre, what's his name, from the NBA last year. They got that one game. No, it was not Andre Miller. The kid
guy from the Lakers.
With the Lakers, they finally got a chance to play.
Yes.
He scored like 19 points.
Yeah.
He just went all world for that
Holland
game.
Springs High School in my hometown of Richmond, Virginia. My man.
It's nice you know where he's from, but don't know his name. And you're our sports guy.
I didn't say I knew him. I just remembered the story.
But this is one of those things, though. It may be a flash in the pan. You never hear this guy again, or this may be the start of a very beautiful relationship.
He's in shape.
Yeah, and obviously he's pretty well rested because no one's ever heard of him. He hadn't played much.
Right.
But maybe this could turn him into something. So, he may be, by the end of the season, he may be a Pro Bowler.
I think he's productive, and he's going to get – they have a very good mix of guys. They rotate. They're spelling Julius Peppers. He's fresh every time he comes in. He's giving them energy. K'Wan Short, Kyle Love, Wes Horton. Those guys are getting it done. I think the D-line, and if you couple them, Luke Kuechly had to go out for a series for dehydration. And Shaq Thompson's still playing good. You get Thomas Davis back after the Giants game. That's only going to help.
Yeah, I mean, you rotate these guys through. You got to, because let's not forget the Panthers give you a lot of 3-and-outs. So if you're going to get a lot of 3-and-outs, you want to have a deep rotation. So by the fourth quarter, these guys aren't getting smoked.
Yeah,
it's good being had that rotation.
You brought up a good point, though. No, let's see how they do the next week, because they had a good first week. They struggled the D-line overall in week 2 against the Falcons. They had a good week against the Bengals. Now, if you want to be this team, that wins the division, you got to do it week after week.
Exactly. And big shouts out to LaTanya Brooks for joining in, Kim Mahusky. We got more female viewers than male viewers right now.
There we go.
And one of my Navy shipmates, Don Nyberg's in the building. So,
is he ship shape?
He's a 4-0 sailor.
All right. That's always good if you got anybody from the Navy who's tuning in, so that's always good. What do you think about this sack rule? I think some people are saying it's ridiculous. It's getting out of hand. Big Ben, who's a big man, by the way, he got semi-run over by Gerald McCoy. They called a penalty. Clay Matthews got a controversial call against Alex Smith of the Redskins. We've seen these hits, and they're just drawing these fouls. I mean, it's like, is it even tackle football anymore?
We go through this every time there's a new NFL protected quarterback rule. Every time. Tom Brady got his ACL torn. Now you can't tackle below the waist. Aaron Rodgers gets his collarbone broken. Now you can't fall on the quarterback. They should have given these guys a red flag, put them in a red shirt, and say, you know what, you get to him, pull the flag, and that's a sack. Because at some point, usually these guys now, they're like, you can't fall on him. How does a 295, 300-pound man run at full speed, make contact, in the air and not fall on the person. Some things just defy physics. And
I agree.
Now you're penalizing him for Isaac Newton's laws of physics going into play.
A couple things on this. Clearly, the NFL is not backtracking from any of this. They know, they hear all the controversy. It's dominating. When you talk on Mondays about some of the Clay Matthews hits, they all look clean to me. And the NFL keeps backing up by saying, you know what, it broke the rules.
By the letter of the law, he did rough Alex Smith. I have to say that. That's just a fact.
Well, the thing is, but sometimes it's a legit call. Hey, what's up, Eddie? Fast Eddie in the building? No, sometimes it's a legit call.
They are going to force.
But you got to be able to use. They need to be able to use some kind of discretion, and I guess they have discretion. But they need to just kind of temper the whistles a little bit and put some common sense into this. Because if I run at you full, I'm 225 pounds. If I run at you full speed and I hit you, I can't suddenly disengage because the football is gone. I just physically can't do it without blowing my knee out. Inertia, laws of inertia, just going to play.
The Dolphins. He was trying not to hit a guy. And he tore his ACL. Now he's out for the year.
And now he's out for the year. And I think the NFL is trying to force these players. They're going to take their criticism for now. They're trying to force a new way of tackling. And it is going to come at the expense of the quality of play within the NFL. I think there's a legitimate question to be made that it's going to really damage the league overall in terms of how you play.
You know who's in favor of this quarterback hit rule? Your guy, Clint Sterner. You know, he probably got hit a few times.
I would punch you in the face, but we on air. But here's what and I wouldn't get a roughing the passer call. But here's my thing. The NFL has a much bigger issue. The NFL, I get why they're doing it. I may not agree with it. I may think it's too much, but they're looking down the line. They're looking at it as a business decision. Kids aren't playing football like they used to. You go in these, you see little Pop Warner leagues and all this stuff, they're being replaced by soccer. So their kids parents aren't letting their kids play football anymore. That parents
are working going on for years, but I think it's increased in recent years. It's increased
a lot because now, for years they weren't seeing the Junior Seau's of the world commit suicide.
That's true.
They weren't seeing these guys. Yeah,
players are questioning whether or not to let their kids play.
Yeah, Drew Brees. Wasn't it Drew Brees that said he wasn't going to let his kid play football?
Speaking of Drew Brees, he passed Brett Favre. And Ryan Fitzpatrick setting an NFL record. Mountaineer Mike, what do you think about Drew Brees passing Brett Favre and Fitzpatrick setting a new record?
Well, as far as Brees goes, it's been as a fan, it's been really one of the joys to watch him play week after week. You're talking about a guy who at one point we thought maybe his career would be over when he was at San Diego. Mm-hmm. Nobody wanted to sign him. I mean, Nick Saban was with the Dolphins. He wanted to sign him when he was injured, and they wouldn't let him. So he goes to New Orleans and carves out a Hall of Fame career. Yeah. And very impressed with Brees. There's never a time you watch him play. He's one of those guys you love to watch play, and you love to. You can't get to him. He always seems to get. If you sack Drew Brees, you feel like you've really done something.
Drew Brees very pro-military, Will.
Yeah,
and Ryan Fitzpatrick. I mean, it's a great start, and he put up some good yards. He also made a lot of mistakes. You probably saw everything with Ryan Fitzpatrick Monday night. The great yards, some great throws, and some bad throws.
Well, Mike Evans didn't run a route right, and there was a deflection. But one time he looked like Neil O'Donnell just throwing or Joe Theismann throwing it right to the other team.
Yeah, the pick six right before the end of the half. That's what kept Ryan Fitzpatrick from being a star.
Yeah, but you're gonna have those things happen. Who were we talking about before? What was it? Drew Brees. Drew Brees, consummate professional.
True.
Drew Brees is the epitome of a professional athlete. But he's also an everyday man. Yeah. Undersized, overlooked, not given a whole lot of credit, kind of left for dead. He's that guy. Then he goes to New Orleans. They have Katrina, all this stuff. It sets itself up for Drew Brees to become a folk hero.
Yes.
And he does it. He handles everything with class and decorum. When they were winning, he won with class. When they were losing, he lost with class. He never blamed anybody. And the team, you can tell when he's on the field, they believe in him. He is a leader. He is what you want, regardless whether it's a Fortune 500 company, a small startup, a small business, a football team, basketball team, any group you have, you want a Drew Brees type player there because he's never too big to talk to the seventh string guy or the seventh round guy. He's not too small to go talk to an owner.
Talks to me every year that Carolina comes here.
Yeah, he's just a classy guy, and I love guys like Drew Brees.
And how many quarterbacks are there out there in the league that you can say, you know what, as long as I got him, we have a shot.
You
no matter
got a
how
shot
good they
as
are.
long as you got Drew Brees. As we go to break, I have been hearing some of my friends saying, hey, you know that William Wilson guy, the guy from William Wilson Clothing? I said, yeah. When's he going to get those Deshaun Jackson, Ryan Fitzpatrick outfits out? I said, maybe in the spring.
Juvember 13th. Juvember 13th, 2019.
All right,
I got you.
All right, there you go. All right, Reggie's in the bunker. We got some college football to talk about, plus Will's here. The winner of the Roval 400 jacket is here. We're going to talk some NASCAR. We're here on Talking About Sports from the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill.
At Heslop Wealth Advisors, our goal is to help small businesses develop quality retirement plans for their employees through our Lunch and Learn seminars. We provide lunch and learning tools to help your company succeed and unmatched customer service.
All right, welcome back to Talking About Sports. We're here at the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill with Mountaineer Mike Freer, William Wilson, who brought the winner's jacket for the Roval 400. We don't know who it's going to be. I know you want your guy,
I want Kurt Busch
to win, but we don't know. That jacket's going to go on the winner. That's all I know.
Yes, it is.
College football. We did hear that what's his name? Kelly Bryant will transfer. That he was not named the starter with Clemson. So there's a lot of shakeups in college football, and with all the breaking news and a look ahead, let's go back to the bunker and Reggie.
Death Valley, Clemson Tigers, you got a problem on your hands. Now Kelly Bryant, your starter the last season and a half, is ready to take off and see greener pastures. 16-2 as a starter, ready to transfer. Why? Because he's no longer the starting quarterback. Why? Because, to be honest, the team responded better to Trevor Lawrence, the freshman quarterback who's come in and now taken over the job. Bigger issue to me, let's look at this from multiple aspects. Number one, the fact that Kelly Bryant wants to transfer. Again, learn how to compete. If you lose your job, accept it, move on. You chose Clemson, and now you want to leave. But on the flip side of that, it's your option, it's your right to do so. The 4-game freshman redshirt concept has helped you out. That's good for you, Kelly Bryant. Not great for the Clemson Tigers and their prospects moving throughout the season because, of course, they're without a senior leader on this football team. Now, all of you that have been complaining for years saying players need more options, here's the reason that you've been asking for. Now it's there. But on the flip side, I don't want to hear none of y'all complaining and saying, why is he quitting on this team? Why is he bailing on this team? This is his option. It's his choice. I don't like it any more than anybody else, but guess what? There's nothing you can do about it. 16-2 as a starter, and you bench him, so he wants to leave. I don't blame him, because my question is this. From a coaching standpoint, he's been there 4 years, and now you can go get a guy that can pass him this quickly. That tells me you didn't do your job in fully developing him over the entirety of his career. So I don't want to hear anything from the Clemson coaching staff. I don't want to hear anything from the fans. And I don't want to hear anything from people talking about kids need options, because guess what? This is one of his kids' options, and he's taking it. Kelly Bryant, hope you play well wherever you end up. And listen, at the end of the day, get better and stop fighting the fact that maybe this other guy's better than you. If you would have played better, this probably wouldn't happen. But at the end of the day, it's your option, it's your right. Go see greener pastures away from Clemson.
So we like having Reggie breaking it down as only Reggie can do. Now, Mountaineer Mike, you picked up on Kelly Bryant, was told by Coach Dabo Sweeney that he's not going to be the starter, and he promptly says, I don't want to play. I've had played 4 games. He can transfer now and have a year of eligibility left. And I think Dabo Sweeney is not a guy that is going to pull any fast ones. He was upfront about this, and I think he's a stand-up guy. He's just trying to do what's best for the Clemson Tigers.
Yeah, I think he handled it. I mean, he handled it the way he He could. He had the better quarterback waiting to go in Trevor Lawrence. And I think he knew that coming in. He just didn't want to be the starter coming out of the gate. And at the end of the day, the offense was moving better with Lawrence at quarterback than Kelly Bryant. And he made this move to beat Alabama. That's what this is about. He knows Kelly Bryant can't do it because they went through it last year and they got spanked. He's trying to beat Alabama, which is exactly the reason why Nick Saban made the quarterback move he did.
I was going to get there, but Saban is still playing Jalen Hurts, and Jalen Hurts, his dad said he's to be the number one free agent, but apparently they like Coach Saban, and he's going to stay.
He's playing Jalen Hurts because they're blowing out so many guys that he's got some time here. When the situation gets there, it's going to be Tua's job throughout.
Well, it may not. It may not. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about Nick Saban. I'm not a big Nick Saban fan, and I can't stand Alabama. But Nick Saban is going to make whatever the best football move is for that time. So if Tua's not playing as well in practice as the other guy, Saban will play the other guy. Saban has loyalty to nothing but winning.
No, I agree with that.
So I'll take a guy like that.
Here's Kelly Bryant, 16-2 as a starter, led his team to the playoff last year.
Yep.
And then you had Jalen Hurts, who led his team to the national championship game 2 years in a row, and Coach Saban benches him. These are guys that are committed to the W, Will.
Exactly. Produce or reduce.
Ooh.
It's what it all comes down to. You either produce or you get reduced. That's just how this works. That's business.
I agree.
It's got nothing to do with emotion. It's just business. If you're not performing, then you get replaced. Next man up. Big shout out to Shayla Griffin-Reed, Reggie Walker tune in, and my man Michael Brown from Matco Tools. What's up, Michael?
Yeah, this comes down to those two quarterbacks that are in there now, Tua and Trevor Lawrence. They throw the ball downfield. And that's what they want out of this offense. Those offenses want to be able to move the ball down the field to set up their running game. And that's what it is. They're better at getting the ball down the field than the other two guys. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, but there's certain coaches, and I think this kid transferring from Clemson will suffer for that. I think he'll pay for that. And I don't think like the revenge type suffering. Clemson is an amazing program.
Yes.
Being the second quarterback at Clemson would get you drafted higher than the first quarterback at Towson State.
What if he transferred to Arkansas? You'd welcome him with open arms.
Well, but I like the guy we have now. We're at Arkansas. We got to get our players in to play this coach's system. I'm going to love his system once it's in. I didn't like the hire, but I like what he's trying to do. And me and John Daly were talking about this, and John brought up a good point. He said he got to need time to get his players in to play his system. Bielema brought in that slow, boring, lethargic, cold slime, slow-moving, big offensive lineman, 3 yards of cloud of dust football that doesn't translate in the SEC, which is why we got what we got.
I don't think you had sport coats that big to fit Brett Bielema, did you?
I do custom. Nothing's too small.
Right.
Nothing's too big.
All right.
Big shout to Lorianne Alvin for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in. But I just think if I got a chance to be number 2 of the greatest or number 1 of the subpar, I'm staying in Clemson.
It's a tough call for Kelly Bryant. And by the way, I don't mind the rule the way it is right now for the players. I think the players should get whatever advantages they can, take advantage of whatever situation is, that's fine. I think it's a knee-jerk reaction by Kelly Bryant, but I also know he's a senior. This is his last chance to get some playing time. If I can't do it here, I have to go somewhere else. I just don't think I think he should have stuck it out because just like you said, if Trevor Lawrence, who's a true freshman, goes into a slump and he starts facing some stiffer competition, although in the ACC this year, I don't know where that exactly is, would they need Kelly Bryant to turn back to and carry them? But, if Kelly Bryant leaves, now it's all in on Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, and the thing is, he's probably going to go somewhere where doesn't have as good an offensive line, so he may be taking sacks more. He may get exposed for not being as good as you may think he is because Dabo had a great offensive line in front of him. You take a really big risk in this. But, again, football guys, the GMs in the NFL, those 32 GMs, they know what he's about. They've got enough tape on, enough film on, they see his numbers. So even if he doesn't play another down, they can say, you know what, he's the team-first guy. He's a team-first guy. Another guy took his job, he stays.
Between now and then, you know what, I don't need to go anywhere. Like he'll listen to William Wilson said, now he is draft eligible for 3 years in the program. He can go to the NFL. And somebody might tell him, hey, man, we think you're a 4th or 5th round guy now. Just take that and prove yourself in the league. Save it for when you're getting paid.
Well, the thing is, you go to the combine, you can move up in the combine real quick.
Now, what do you think, Mike, about UNC? I thought kind of thought Pittsburgh was going to beat them. I thought UNC's down this year. What do you read on, is it Pittsburgh not as good or North Carolina finally reaching up to their level of what the expectations were for the season?
Well, that was an exciting game, obviously back and forth, a lot of points scored. I think it was, for this year, indicative of the kind of play we're going to get in the ACC this year. It's just not, the conference is just not that deep. Not nearly as deep as they thought it was. These are two teams that if one of them gets to a bowl or is eligible for a bowl, it'd be a party. Pittsburgh is down. North Carolina is down. Together they provided a nice, exciting game, but that's about as far as it goes with those two.
What about North Carolina, Miami? Miami had a lot of hype going into the season, Will. North Carolina, you thought, great facilities, guys in the league every year, but they stumbled out of the gate with Cal, and I don't know. I kind of think Miami has the talent advantage, at least from the roster. I don't know about and I think Mark Richt's a better coach than Larry Fedora.
Yeah, I think Mark Richt is one of the best coaches in the league, and I think he has players that can't live up to his ability to coach them. But I think Miami had a lot of hype, and I think they pretty much, that bubble burst pretty quickly too, if I remember right.
Virginia Tech beat them, and by the way, Virginia Tech I think is done.
Yeah.
Losing to Old Dominion, by the way.
Your season's done. You lose ODU.
Another
big shout to the Monarchs, but
another shout at the ACC.
Don't give a shout out to them. They were our arch rival in college.
No, I give a shout out because I was in a SOCNAV program in the Navy, and I took classes at ODU to get my degree from Arkansas. And Jay Harris is an ODU graduate.
The problem with Miami, you're talking about Miami, the problem with Miami is they put so much stock into the LSU game because that was the biggest game on their schedule this year to show, you know what, we're not just competing for the ACC title, we're competing for the national title, and they lost that game, and they lost it badly, and now it doesn't matter what they do the rest of the year because they could run the table in this conference, and they're not going to get a sniff at the playoff.
Real quick, yes or no, does North Carolina win 6 and get to a bowl this year?
No.
That's a laughing no, Will.
They're not.
I don't know, man. The ACC.
They play Western Carolina, though.
The ACC is bad.
It's bad.
So, I mean.
Says the SEC.
So, right now, but they are bad. Regardless of what conference I'm from, they're still a bad conference right now. They could get 6 out of it.
Speaking of your conference, a team that I called it, remember this, Mountaineer Mike, I said watch out for the Kentucky Wildcats. They were going to beat Mississippi State, and they did.
He called it.
They're 4-0, and they're right on the cusp of the top 10. Kentucky 4-0. Hosting the South Carolina Gamecocks. What do we think about that?
I think that your prognostications about Kentucky were obviously right on, and I think this is a pretty good team. I think they're going to win Saturday. Benny Snell is one of the best running backs you better find out about if you don't know already. He had 4 touchdowns last week. They had a nice win on the road. And now they get to host South Carolina. They're going to be 5-0, and they've since 1950 they've been 5-0 2 other times.
You're going back to Bear Bryant days.
Yes, 5-0 2 other times, and this would be number 3. I think they're going to get to 5-0, and I think they are definitely a contender.
They're in a tough conference, and the SEC East is not what it used to be.
No, and I think they have an absolute
in the
chance
West coming up because I think they're going to beat everybody in the East except Georgia.
I agree with that.
I know what Big Mo is undefeated.
Right.
You get enough momentum, they may beat Georgia.
They might.
They may step up. Confidence. Tiger Woods had a commercial where he was on his knees.
He looked good this weekend.
He was on his knees, hit a golf ball 200 and some yards. He said confidence on the golf course is a beautiful thing. Confidence anywhere is a beautiful thing. These guys in Kentucky, they go to 5-0 because I think they're going to beat South Carolina. They can go 5-0. They keep winning. They may beat Georgia. They beat Georgia, man.
I can't hit it 200 standing up.
You can't if you hit it 3 times and get some down off the hill.
Now they do get to host Georgia too. Can you imagine how Lexington's going to be?
I love the Commonwealth of Kentucky. I love spending time there. I love a lot of the products that they sell in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. I love the horse racing, and I have to give the shout out to Jeff Pecoro, Fox Sports Ohio, for tuning me in and tipping me off about the Kentucky Wildcats. So I definitely want to give you.
They host one ranked team the rest of the year, and it's Georgia. Or they have one ranked team the rest of the year is Georgia, and it's coming to Lexington. So
that's going to be the big. I think that's the biggest game that could decide who goes to the SEC championship game from the Eastern Division.
So you get to pick who loses against Alabama.
Well, you never know. All right, we've got some NASCAR. That blue jacket we have right off camera here is going to go to the winner of the Roval 400. William Wilson made it. We're going to talk some NASCAR coming up here on Talking About Sports from the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill.
At Heslop Wealth Advisors, our goal is to help small businesses develop quality retirement plans for their employees through our Lunch and Learn seminars. We provide lunch and learning tools to help your company succeed and unmatched customer service.
All right, we're back here at the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill. We're talking about sports with Mountaineer Mike Freer. There's William Wilson, the designer of the Roval 400 winner's jacket from William Wilson Clothing. And, Will, it looks nice. Nice gold buttons, which I like. It doesn't look like it's going to fit me, but then again, I'm not going to be in a race car, and I won't be eligible because I won't win the race. A lot has gone into this. In addition to this, you give out winner to the All-Star race and the 600, right? So a lot goes into this jacket. Tell everybody what goes into the making of this jacket and why you're doing it.
Well, I came with this program in 2011 for the May race. Kevin Harvick won that one. And it really what happened, I went to the Speedway Club, and Nathan Kroon was my guy there at the time. And I said, who does the jackets for the winner of the race? He's like, what do you mean? I said, like the Masters or whatever, who does the winner's jacket? He said, we don't have a winner's jacket. So I developed a program. Long story short, we did it at the May race, 2011. Marcus Smith loved it. Everyone loved it. It went off really well. So they said, well, we'll see you in October. So we did the October race. And at the end of October, they said, well, see you at the All-Star race. So it turned into a whole thing. And now, they let me do it. They said I can do it as long as I want to. And it's worked out really well. While we had it, big shouts to my boy Kevin Porter, my best friend, just tuned in. Jerry Noche, and Vicky Neal. Thanks for tuning in.
You got more connections than Duke Powell.
Hey, I got bills.
For the recent viewers of Talking About Sports, William Wilson, a two-time NASCAR pit crew champion. That's why you see this big ring he has. Jackman for who was it? Ultra
Motorsports.
Now I got to give a shout out to my man Blaine Anderson, former Alabama Crimson Tide football player from Myers Park High. He made the Hendrick Motorsports pit crew. He's working out and he's in, and he's going to pit. He can't tell me exactly which team yet, but he's going to be getting some time on a Hendrick Cup team in the playoffs. So I guess I don't know if he's going to be on one of the playoff teams, but he's going to be pitting in, and he's tire changing.
Okay,
and I think that's a lot. A lot goes into that. So shout out.
A lot goes into everything on Pit Road. Oh, hey, our buddy David Chapman just logged on.
Best sports memorabilia dealer. And the stunt double for
Chuck Norris.
Chuck Norris on Walker, Texas Ranger.
What's up, Dave?
And we definitely like seeing him at the Roman Gabriel Celebrity Golf Tournament. Now, about this race, Will.
Mm-hmm.
Kurt Busch has been fastest in testing, but you say this is attrition. It doesn't matter how fast you're going to be. Do you have the car that has the less damage at the end of the race?
Yeah, this is, and I've been saying this I've been doing interviews all morning. This is Bristol, Watkins Glen, and Talladega tied into one race.
Wow.
You may be really, really great on the oval, come down on the, you may gain you a lead on the oval. Then you come down on the road course part of it, and the field catches back up to you. You miss a turn. There's one turn where you come off the oval. When you come off the oval, it looks like you're coming on the pit road, but it's actually, you make a little bit more of a right from pit road. There's going to be somebody, and I'm just waiting to see who it is, that's going to think that this motor memory is going to take them down pit road instead of on the track. Is going to throw off their entire race.
Derek Cope.
This is going to be, I almost want to say, if you've never watched NASCAR before, don't watch this race because it's going to spoil it for you for everything else. This is going to be my favorite race ever.
I'm thinking the same way.
And the beautiful thing is, here's what's so beautiful. For one day, everyone's a rookie. There's no notes on this track. No one's raced on this track. It's a playoff race, so all these cup guys that racing these Xfinity races,
it's an elimination race.
Go on, and it's an elimination race on top of it. So this is for all the marbles. If it was up to me, they'd race this thing twice in the playoffs. That's how giddy I am. I wish there's another track that had one of these, and they would do this every year.
Do you think everybody's equal coming into this?
No, because at the end of the day, money still talks. And you had multi-car teams that came out and tested, so they could share notes between, like Stuart Haas, they got 4 teams. So they've got 4 sets of testing notes that they could use, whereas, Front Row Motorsports, or I guess they closed down now, but
BK.
Yeah, Levine Family Racing.
Okay.
That only has 1 team. They only got 1 set of notes they can share. they don't have any to share with. They only got one set of limited notes, and they're an underfunded team. Whereas Hendricks, Gibbs, those guys got a lot of notes. They can go do a lot of testing, a lot of places. They can play around. They got engineers that literally can race these tracks. They can build a computer program to simulate this kind of stuff. So there's things that they can do that are different. So no, they're never equal. But I think it was so beautiful. Hey, Eddie, if you want to go, I got an extra ticket. You want to go? Come with me. You can hang out in the clubhouse with me, Victory Circle. I got you. If you can come, if you're free Sunday, come with me.
You didn't ask me.
Well, you didn't say you wanted to go. And welcome Ryan Raleigh. See? But here's what I think is just going to be amazing about this race. Like I'm telling you, it's going to be a long day. It's going to be a long day. The caution's going to be out. And so people are going to, because during testing, Bubba Wallace destroyed a car.
Yeah.
And I think it was, I want to say it was the 42 car. I can't think. Yeah, Kyle Larson. I think he just straightened out a curb and rode straight into a big pile of tires. This is going to be crazy. How you doing, Christine Harmon and Hodges?
Larson is a guy who grew up racing these open wheels, so he's got a lot of experience with the turns.
Yeah, but he got with the turn, but none of them got the roval and the turn. A lot of road course experienced guys, but this, you got to get on the pit road, onto the oval, off the oval. Then you got a chicane on the backstretch of the oval. So, this, for those who don't know what a chicane is,
I know
it's when you're going straight, and then you have to do like this. It's like an S-turn on the backstretch of the oval.
I hate those.
This is going to be, I'm telling you, man, I am giddy.
I thought last week was your favorite week, but now I guess it's not.
Dude, this race is going to be, oh my God.
Kyle Larson got all his points riding up on the top of the track.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you're going to be able to do that at this race anyway.
Well, you're not going to be in it long enough. The only time you got room, you got to think you come on to one. NASCAR, you come in low, go out high. So you got to come in low on the one, you want to hug the line, and then you want to let the car drift you out to the wall coming out at two. Well, by the time you pick up speed, you're going to come up on the chicane. So now you still want to be on the inside of the curves. So you're not going to be on there long enough. Then once you come out of chicanes, now you're going into three. So you can't really go up high enough to dive down into three because you got to kind of stay low because now you're coming out that turn, come between 3 and 4. It's going to take you off almost by the little quarter-mile track inside the race.
I haven't heard, and I don't think they're going to do it. No more Brian Simo, Scott Pruitt's, Boris said, no road course specialists are coming in here. So
No.
These are Cup regulars, and they're in there, and it's on.
But they haven't done that in a long time. They haven't done that in a long time because now these guys have gotten so much better road course racing. The cars are so much better. They got notes on it. The drivers are better. The drivers have more experience in road course type racing. So it's just that day of bringing over the road course specialists in, the Boris Seds of the world, that's been gone for a long time.
I remember those guys.
Yeah, with the big afro.
And reading up on this, and because it's such a different type of race that you guys mentioned, reading up, it doesn't seem like. It seems like the drivers are just prepared. A lot of times when you have changes, when you have in any sport, you have people out there complaining about this. It doesn't. And what I've read, I could be wrong. It doesn't seem like the driver. There's a lot of complaining about it. There's just a lot of preparing about it.
Yeah,
because everybody's in the same boat, I guess.
Yeah, no one has an advantage. No team has an advantage. Money gives you some advantage to a point, but there's a lot of teams out there with money. And this is going to be attrition. You can see the number 1 and 2 guy wreck each other out. Because I was out at the Speedway this morning doing some hits for another network. We unveiled the jacket to the public, and me and Brandon Jones, who races for JGR now, we're talking about the course because they're racing tomorrow night. And the first time they ever touched the track is today for practice because they didn't get a chance to go out for testing. Whoa. He said there's really only 2 pass points, maybe 3 on the entire track. Brandon Jones is another Arkansas boy, by the way, but there's only 2 or 3 places on the entire track that can pass. It's going to be interesting. It's going to really try your patience.
Tell you where, or is it kind of like they're keeping that close? Where do you think they can pass out there? I think it has to be. I think coming off turn 4 before you get down to pit road or on the backstretch somewhere.
Well, you never get to turn 4. You go on before you get to 4, so you're not going to be a pass there because everyone's breaking down and going in. I think both pass points are actually on the road course, so it's going to be a matter of how well you brake, and it's a harder tire too. So because you got a harder tire that Goodyear bring it to the track, it's going to last a lot longer, but they're going to be slicker.
You mentioned the brakes. Now this also means not just the brakes; it's the rotors. And the last time I heard that, we saw Bubba Wallace blow a rotor out, and the tire debris went all over Pocono, and he went into the grass and went hard into turn 1. So I don't think the speeds are going to be like that.
Right.
But I do think that there's going to be a lot of tire problems, brake problems, rotor problems, things like that.
Yeah, like I said, everyone's a rookie, even the crew chiefs. No one has any experience on this, so no one has a decided advantage over it, even experience-wise. So it's going to be really interesting, because the drivers can adjust brake bias in the car. They can put all the brakes to one side, or to the front, or to the rear, or to the left, or to the right. They can do what they want with the brakes. So it's going to be interesting seeing how people brake the tires, because that's what's going to all come down to. How well can you brake going into these turns? And what kind of gear? You run the 323 gears, you have some quick takeoff speed? Because I'm not sure if this is going to be a long, I don't think you're going to get really long green flag laps. And even when you do, I don't think speed's going to be that much of a factor. So that kind of brings in, like I said, the short track racing. You never get above, you may get up to 100 miles an hour coming out between 1 and 2, and on that backstretch, you may get to 120, 130, but you're braking right back down to go through the chicanes. So you're never going to be really high speed. So I don't think you'll destroy cars, but I think you're going to be in a situation where you're really, really going to have to watch your equipment, maintain your equipment. But if you wreck, you can still win this race with a wrecked car.
All right, we got more NASCAR Roval 400 to talk about. I want to know, get Will's take when we come back, what's more important here, the driver, the crew chief, or the setup? We're here at the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill. This is Talking About Sports.
At Heslop Wealth Advisors, our goal is to help small businesses develop quality retirement plans for their employees through our Lunch and Learn seminars. We provide lunch and learning tools to help your company succeed and unmatched customer service.
All right, welcome back to the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill. I'm talking about sports with Mountaineer Mike Freer and William Wilson. And Will, before we went to break, I want to know what's the most important thing. A driver's driving ability through this course that's never been driven on by any driver. The setup from a crew chief, from a setup that has never been done before, or the crew. Now, all things being equal, I like Chad Knaus. He's the best crew chief in the sport now and in the history of the sport.
Well, I don't know if it's a best, but he's got the most rings. But I don't know if it's a best, but he's up there because Paul Wolf, Brad Keselowski's crew chief, is a beast too.
Right now.
But I think it's really all kind of equal because the setup comes from the driver. How well the driver drives. They get their notes and everything like this. So how well they communicate. So really, the driver and crew chief really work as one. Because in NASCAR, you drive with your feet in your seat. So literally everything is based on what you feel in your feet and what you feel in your butt in the car. The driver becomes one with the car, and so what they feel is how they set the car up. So from that point, then he can take that information, relay that to the crew chief. That crew chief can say, okay, well, we're not turning really well out of here, so let's take a let's take a quarter round out of the right rear, let's take a half pound out of the left front to get this car to turn better. So that's how that kind of communication goes. So once everything is rolling smoothly, if your pit stops aren't good, it don't matter if your driver keeps driving away to first and your crew chief your pit crew keeps moving you back to fourth.
That's why that 2 crew, they're dialed in. They won 3 of the last 4.
Yeah,
that 2 crew is on right now.
So when you look at all together, what's up, boy? Granger Hicks in the building. What's up, Granger? So all of it is equally important. One's not more important than the other. It's like, which is more important, your 2 thumbs or your 2 big toes? You really need both of them. But the best teams will be the ones that's able to communicate very well with each other. To be able to work
what about
together
the front
as
bumper?
one.
Is Austin Dillon going to use the front bumper to get ahead?
I think anybody out there on a road course race, if the opportunity presents itself, they got to go into a turn. You're on the last 1 or 2 turns, and I think passing and track position is going to be at a minimum. It's going to be at a maximum and at a premium. You're going to do it. What's up, Eric Flat? It's going to be at a premium. So when you get track position, you're going to do whatever you can do to maintain track position. So there's going to be a lot of pressure on these pit crews. Now, at the beginning of the season, pit stops were around 17-2. Obviously, now they're dropping down to like now. They're down to 13.5, 13.4s. So they dropped 4 seconds off. So because teams are starting to get it together. I was wondering, was this going to be a reverse pit crew situation where they came on the pit road from the right, like they were Watkins Glen, versus from the left? But it's going to be a normal stop for them.
Right.
So that's one good thing. Now, if they want to totally throw a monkey wrench, if they came in the other way on pit road,
wow,
that would have been the haymaker of all monkey wrenches within all of it. But they're going to be able to keep doing like they normally do. So you have that consistency on pit road, which is good. So for the pit crew guys, this race is no different than any other race. It's literally no different from a pit crew guy because they're coming in the same way they always do. They're coming in from the same side they always do, and they're going to pit like they always do. So really, this is going to be on the driver, the crew chief, and just the only thing on the pit crews, we never had room to mess up, and now we got less because you're on the roval and the oval. I mean, both of those together.
Well, you're friends with Marcus Smith. Maybe you can suggest that for next year. Maybe bring him in on the other side for pitting.
No, because you got to change the whole configuration of the track, and you want to stick with this. You want to have some continuity if you can.
I thought about this. Pick an old a driver who is either he's old, he's retired, he's maybe deceased. Could you stick a driver from yesteryear in on this track and be successful? And I'm thinking Dale Earnhardt Sr., Tim Richmond, Cale Yarborough. These are guys, Buddy Baker. These guys could get right in a car right now. Give them a week. And you mentioned Tim Richmond, who won at Riverside, the old road course. Tim Richmond and Dale Earnhardt Sr. are the two guys that come to my mind immediately.
Well, Tim Richmond definitely does. Tim Richmond was Jeff Gordon before there was a Jeff Gordon. Tim Richmond he died of AIDS. He played more than he played around more than he should have, and he paid for it. But I think a guy like that could have. You know who I'd really love to see in this race? Greg Biffle.
The Biff. He's had some off-track problems.
But Greg Biffle was a great wheel man.
Well,
he was a great wheel man. He ran a lot of road course races in Canada. He raced in CASCAR, which is basically the Canadian version of NASCAR. So Greg Biffle was a great wheel man. I would have loved to have seen him race in this just to see. But it's kind of hard to take those guys from that era because everything was different. The cars weren't as fast for the most part. They raced, but then again, they raced at Myrtle Beach on the dirt.
Yeah, man, Myrtle Beach was a good track. They raced at South Boston, man. Those are good tracks.
First time I got hit on pit road was at South Boston.
Well, all right. Got some more NASCAR discussion and some final thoughts. We're here at the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill.
NASCAR!
At Heslop Wealth Advisors, our goal is to help small businesses develop quality retirement plans for their employees through our Lunch and Learn seminars. We provide lunch and learning tools to help your company succeed and unmatched customer service.
How you doing?
All right, welcome back to Talking About Sports. We're here at the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill with Mountaineer Mike Freer and William Wilson. And I can't get over the fact that we're going to have this Roval here. First ever. This is history. And we got the jacket here. You brought up Tim Richmond. I'm thinking about Dale Earnhardt Sr. But guys, give me are you going to save it for a final thought, or are you going to give me a winner right now?
No, I'll give you one right now. My final thought's going to be on something totally different.
All right.
But first, my first thought, my mama has tuned in. Della Lamb, that's my mama.
Nice.
So everybody that's watching, say hello to my mom.
Hello, Mom.
Invite me for dinner one night. Is she in Arkansas?
Yeah, she's in Arkansas.
All right, well, for some good country cooking out there. You know, I can eat a lot.
Well, I'll have you over when I fly her up. Fly her up here.
That's good.
But I think I don't know. You know, I'm gonna always put my boy Kurt till he wins.
Right.
But I didn't think he has a good chance. They're running really well.
He's won the road course.
Yeah, they found some speed up at SHR with his car, and you know, he's been kind of the face of the Roval. You know, I was at the track yesterday, and we ran across each other. He was doing the whole media tour at PRN and all this stuff. So I don't know, for some reason I feel like he could win this one, but it's kind of hard to go against the big three. You know, it's hard to go against the big three.
There used to be a big three, then Red Keselowski made it a big four. What are you talking about?
Yeah, true. It's hard to go against the big four because Keselowski's doing it where it really counts.
He's red hot right now.
He is.
He will use the bumper.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he'll race you clean, but he'll use the bumper. But Brad is a skilled enough driver.
Yes.
He'll use the bumper just to move you. He's not going to wreck you. He's going to move you. Now, if you wreck him, he will do everything in his power to wreck you, and he will succeed at some point. Yep. It may not be that race, but he will get you eventually.
You use the term wheelman too often for guys who don't deserve it, like Eric Jones. So don't. You said Greg Biffle was, and I agree.
You just don't like Eric Jones, but the kid can drive. I don't know why you don't like him.
He wrecked too many cars, man. I'm not paying for him, but
he hasn't wrecked cars in a while. He's been doing a lot better.
Yeah, he's not a good wheelman. That's all I'm saying. He's better than Derek Cope. I'll give him that. Your guy.
Well, my guy. I mean, Derek was a friendly guy, but I mean, I don't think Derek Cope was anybody's guy.
Who you got?
Kurt Busch.
All right, Mike. Who you got?
Kevin Harvick.
I'm going to go with the guy who was fastest. It may not matter to a hill of beans, but I'm going to go with the fastest guy out there, and I'm going to go with Kyle Busch.
Wow,
Busch.
He went with chalk. Ooh, wow, out on a limb. You're like stepping on the stump.
I got to go with my man Ronaldo Wynn out at Joe Gibbs Racing. And I think Chris Buescher might be a surprise guy from JTG Doherty Racing. I really think he's a guy who can drive the oval, and JTG has the notes for the road courses. So
not for this one.
Well,
no one has the notes for this one.
They are a road course specialty team in years past. Although I think that's AJ is out. I think Ryan Preece is in to the 47 next year. So I just think Chris Buescher's a wild card and a dark horse to keep an eye on. So
I can see that.
Final thoughts, Mountaineer Mike.
Yeah, I mentioned this player's name a couple weeks ago. I'm bringing him back again and talking baseball here.
I knew you were going to go there.
The Mets' Jacob deGrom pitched his final start of the season. He got a win against the Braves, 8 shutout innings, 10 strikeouts, 2 hits. It gave him 10 wins on the year, which for many baseball writers was enough to put him over the top in their debate about the Cy Young. It never should have been a debate. He's the best pitcher in baseball this year, but his numbers for the year, just 10-9 on an overall record, but with a 1.70 ERA. That is absolutely filthy. He had a whip of less than 1, 269 strikeouts in just 217 innings. Playing for a bad team, he put up numbers that we've never seen before. And so I'm just shout out to Jacob deGrom for an unbelievable season and making it a miserable Mets season worth watching every 5th day.
What's the whip?
The whip is walks and hits divided by innings pitched. It's a metric. Cool. If you have a whip of 1 to 1.5, you're doing really good. He's got a whip under 1. That means he's giving up fewer walks and hits than innings pitched.
Wow.
Excuse me.
That's awesome.
It's a ridiculous. It's a new metric. It's been out for a few years, and it's just a ridiculous number for a starting pitcher. You usually get that out of a relief pitcher.
Just don't bring up the whip to Adrian Peterson, Will.
That was a switch. That wasn't a whip. That was a switch. Obviously, you didn't have Southern parents.
I did. I had
to go get my own switch.
I had to go fetch a switch or two now.
Shoot. I've had to go get my own switch, and I turned out okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
What do you got, Will?
Mine, I want to give shouts out to David Tepper with signing Eric Reid. Eric
Reid.
Yeah, Eric Reid. It was Eric Reid.
I got it wrong, but right. You had it right.
Signing Eric Reid. That was a big signing. That took some big brass ones to make that move. Because obviously the controversy that comes with him kneeling. So he knew he was going to face, his fellow owners not going to like it. It opens the door possibly for Kaepernick to get signed by somebody now.
His former team needs a quarterback, by the way.
And you're gonna have those fans like, well, if they sign one of these kneeling guys, I'm not gonna watch football anymore. So you got those guys. David Tepper said, I'll call your bluff. I'm gonna sign him because I want to win games. I'm not gonna worry about his political stuff. I'm not gonna worry about his views. His views are his own, as my views are my own. The fans' views are their own. I'm bringing in a guy who can play football. And if you don't like it, I'll sell your ticket to somebody else. That's a man saying, you know what? I'm not going to worry about the money. It's just like Nike says, stand for something even if it costs you everything. David Tepper said, I'm putting my money where my mouth is. If you don't like it, root for somebody else. That's a bold move, and I appreciate that from our owner.
Before I get to my final thought, how many guys did you think David Tepper asked their opinion of or asked permission from?
It doesn't matter. I know the one guy who said yes, and that's David Tepper.
Right. Onalaska ISD superintendent in Texas, the superintendent of the school system, said, quote, that may have been the most inept quarterback decision I've ever seen in the NFL, speaking of Deshaun Watson and the Houston Texans. When you need precision decision-making, you can't count on a black quarterback. He's resigned. 2 words, Doug Williams, and hail to the Redskins. For Mountaineer Mike Freer, William Wilson, Kevin Tolbert, I'm Kevin Casey. This has been Talking About Sports from the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill.
Let's eat.